Set? Okay. Good morning. It's July 12th, 2016, and I'll call the Wright County Board meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the minutes of July 5th, 2016.
Mr. Chair, I do have one correction on the minutes. First page, last sentence, said La Plante demolition is scheduled to be on site at 7:06. Wasn't that 7:11?
7-8.
7:08 or 7:11 or 7:08?
Well, 7-8 is when the motion said he could start, I believe, right?
8th was a Friday.
Or was it 7-6?
I believe it was 7-6 at 8 a.m.
It was 7-6 Wednesday.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was thinking,
Better
yeah,
written
well,
down, okay.
I think it was 7-6.
I just
now,
questioned that 'cause I had-
7-6, 8 a.m.
I don't have it
Was my
written down.
recollection.
7-6, 8 a.m. is
I had
what I
it.
think was said.
Okay, so it was there. I had it written down as a different day than that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was the only thing. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda. Any additions to the agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda. I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Delight. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Delight and second by Commissioner Houston to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. I don't see nothing in here, but I assume the compost facility being referred to is due to the recent storm damage?
Yes, that is correct.
Like I said, I don't think I didn't see nothing in here relative to that.
And so, Mr. Chair, expand on that. I talked to Alan yesterday, and he said the engineering company of the building is coming out to look at what can do, so he should have that information for the building committee when it comes back to that point.
So whether there was any structural damage or not?
There is some, but they gotta figure out what you can do.
Okay. 9:05 a.m., Bob Hebelo. Good morning, Bob.
Hey, good morning, Board. Hey, before I get to my item, remember last week I had the claims as part of my regular agenda? Just as a reminder, whenever we have an abbreviated cutoff period for submitting our agendas, when I have claims, we're going to put them on the regular agenda. So that's why they were on there last year, and that's why this week they're on the consent agenda. Board, the only item I have on the agenda is to approve the June budget reports. Board, we have the journal entries completed. The budget reports that you have reflect the amendment that you approved last week. But what I have in your packet should be the detail of that amendment. So you'll see which GL line items did have a change to them. So Board, the June budget reports reflect the amendment and they reflect all the activity for the first 6 months. We used this in putting together the budget books for all the departments. It's easy to double those numbers up if you want to see trends. The items I'd draw your attention to are the ones I had shown you before. Commissioner Potter came up to me yesterday and identified a July budget issue. Based on our new codes, even I fell victim when I approved the bills for the elections. I have to use the new code for the professional services. So, boy, there's really nothing more new for me to draw your attention to for the first 6 months.
Mr. Chair, I went through that a little bit, and I also compared it with the bills, and that's why I came up with the election thing that they're, and it's coding, so we can blame Mark on that one, right?
No, we can just
Mr.
blame Bob.
Transparency.
Bob knows the rules. He didn't catch that change.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the June revenue expenditure report with the details we have here.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delyden. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thanks, Bob. And you got the claims there? Thank you. Adam Tagaro, IT Director. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. This morning I would like to request permission from the board for our business analyst, Connie Mae Cooper, to do some out-of-state travel to attend the Community Live Highland training event in Florida. Our vendor, DataBank, has offered to fully pay for the admission, which is a $2,995 value. The only expense on our end would be the travel, and Connie Mae we didn't budget for this specifically, so from the IT budget, I'm proposing that we fund $300 of the travel, and Connie Mae has offered to pay for the rest of the travel expenses on her own accord. This is a very in-depth training course for one of our major platforms. I think the county is really going to see some value from this training in our systems, and so I'm asking for permission for her to attend this event. They have a specific itinerary just for business analysts there because they have such a wide amount of, varied amount of classes and courses, hands-on lab training, etc. So we think that we could really find some value from this, especially considering DataBank is going to cover the cost of the conference for us.
It should be worth $300, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, I think so.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Mr.
Motion
Chair.
by Commissioner Delyden, second by Commissioner Hewson.
Well, we know she's not going to be goofing around because Florida in September isn't the best time to go, so.
It's a lot better than July.
February would be a different deal. Huh?
Yeah. If it was January, February, then I'd be kind of questioning it, but.
Okay, any further discussion?
Just 4-day?
5.
It's a Sunday
5
through
day?
Thursday, so the 11th through 16th.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yeah. Thank you.
Items for consideration, schedule public hearing regarding proposed changes to the supportive care to the frail and elderly disabled ordinance.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as you recall, several months ago, we had a committee of the whole with the affected departments of that ordinance looking to make a few changes. We held off making that official until following our codification process is being wrapped up and established. So now we'd like to move the process forward in bringing that to the board. I would suggest the date of the 16th August at 9:30 a.m. if that works.
Okay, I have a question also kind of obviously related to this, and that is that the trailer home, the camper bill or whatever that passed the law saying that these little campers are allowed anywhere unless the city or a county specifically doesn't provide for them, and it seems to me we don't need both the frail and elderly and the camper law, so we probably need to
Yeah. Greg can address it.
look at that. I think there's some concerns with that one where they'd be allowed or how it might be that, I think what we've always had, I like better probably, I guess is what I'm saying, but.
Mr.
Greg?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I was anticipating when this comes up for amendment, having a resolution opting out of that new trailer legislation at the same time.
Okay.
So I think that'd be an appropriate time to have that debate. And I think it also would then also educate the public as to why we are opting out of that statute. And actually, I think that statute's actually more restrictive than what we have underneath our current frail and elderly ordinance. I think that the frail and elderly ordinance is a much better way for people to go.
Well, it's more restrictive in some ways and less than others. I mean, it's more restrictive in that the time limit is much more limited because you could have a frail and elderly under our ordinance for a number of years if it continued to meet that criteria. I think under the state, maybe there's like a year limit or something like that.
6 months to a year limit, and they also had a size limitation as well.
Yeah,
That was-
but on the other hand, on the states, you can pretty much do it for almost any reason, it sounds like. Whereas ours, you need to have a little more, better reason of why you need this facility.
That's correct. Yep.
Instead of just saying, well, we want to put grandpa here for a year.
You need a medical reason.
With the states you do?
You still need a reason.
Okay, I guess I didn't necessarily,
With 300 square feet, I see it applying more to cities. Now, if you want to opt out, that's fine, but I've been reading about it, and a lot of cities have opted out because it's going to affect cities. We're just not going to have people doing 10 by 30.
yeah. Well, you could put one right, yeah, in a city, you could put one right in your front yard in a residential development, correct?
Yeah, and then there's setbacks and some other. Cities are very concerned because they've got thousands of lots. Somebody might find a 300 square foot structure viable, a 20-acre farmstead where they want to take care of ground for 4 or 5 years. They're just not going to 300 square feet. But at this time, opting out would be the safe.
Sure.
Sure, they might move in one of those little houses there. Some of those are about 200 square feet, you know? They're
Wow.
on wheels and trucks and everything else, so.
Seeing those in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, formaldehyde-laced FEMA trailers.
Yes.
Okay, so anyhow, we'll hear about
Looking
that.
to get rid of them.
At this time then. So, do we have a motion in a second?
I will make a motion to set that hearing for August 16th and time,
9:30 is proposed.
9:30.
Mr. Chair, I guess, do we want to give notice to the townships on that, or what is your desire on that?
From my perspective, the changes are so minimal and they don't impact the townships at all. It's just relative to what public health wanted to do, right?
That's correct. But generally, if we do give township notice, I need at least 30 days.
But and also, this is not a planning and zoning,
No,
which we do with the townships.
no. So a public hearing is not required. No.
Mr. Chair, it just seems like it might be nice just to let them know, but
You don't have to
Well,
worry,
there's not much
you don't have to worry about the 30 days, but maybe just send out a thing if somebody
I
is.
can notify them. But yeah, but if you want an official comment, I need at least 30 days.
First, do we have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Deline. The only thing is, I just don't want to create, there's going to be confusion then as if it's just something new and
They'll think
whatnot, when
something-
really it's nothing new at all. It's
Right.
just changing a
Yeah.
few. It doesn't change anything about the real meats and potatoes of the ordinance. It's just some behind-the-scenes paperwork is all that it really
That's
changes.
correct. Yep.
Any further discussion?
Well, he'll have 30 days. I mean, if we do it August 16th, that is 30 days.
right. And
Does the board want to let it go with every township?
Mr. Chair, it might alleviate some of the confusion if Mr. Kreiser sends a letter stating what this is, and basically we're having a public meeting. There's virtually no change, however, we're going to be discussing the state statute as well.
I'm okay with that. Otherwise, it would be like what Pat said, is
Right.
they would like, what's going on? Then reading this
Right.
whole thing, trying to decipher.
And not even knowing this has been in place for 40 years
Exactly.
and.
Well, and
You know.
if they see the public notice that we're having this hearing, they might wonder, what it's all about, and if, it just seems that it'd be a little more proactive if we let them know ahead of time.
Well, yeah, I guess if you were going to do it, I would include the part about the state's tiny trailer thing too, and how that the board is going to consider not doing that because we already have this other thing in place.
Sounds good.
Any further discussion? And I guess the moral to the letter would be that in the end, very little would change then,
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, we're back to 9:12 a.m., 800 megahertz radio fee. Lee Kelly.
Mr. Chair, as you recall, this was on the agenda last week to discuss the radio fee for our 800 megahertz radio that the county has, along with various other jurisdictions within the county. It was laid over to this week for a little more information. I did stick in your box there the breakdown of currently who has the radios, both the agencies within the county and the county departments that utilize them. Primarily, this is brought forward as last year we had discussed about potentially increasing that fee. This year, And so just as the budgets are coming up, it would be good to provide that guidance to the departments on what we intend to do. Other options, we don't have to make that decision today. We could send it to technology and discuss it further.
I think we probably got on, how much is what is the total cost of maintaining them? 100 and how much thousand?
Jumping up, it was.
Wasn't it like 130 or something like that, or?
800.
Yeah.
The maintenance of these
Yeah, we're
things,
jumping up substantially.
annual maintenance.
Speak to that, Adam.
The annual maintenance budgeted for 2017 is $229,002.
Do you have any type of a running total there? How much was it back in, what year did we start this thing? Do you know that?
The farthest my numbers go back is 2011, 167,764.
700, 2011. When did Armor start? It might not have started all that much further before that, I'm not sure.
From what we were briefly looking at back yesterday, Adam and I, it was rolled out in 2010.
2010,
And
okay.
2011 budget appears to be the first that we put it in the budget as an item for the expenses and the reimbursement revenues.
Mr. Chair, I would rather have it go through technology anyway.
Well, the only thing I'm concerned about, I don't know what necessarily information they have more than we don't have here, but the other thing is, it just kind of prolongs until the cities know
Well,
for budgeting purposes.
When we talked about this, Mark, what was it, a year or two ago? We actually had people come in from the cities and fire departments and come in and kind of addressed some of the things. I don't know, I think it was a little better, a little better input maybe, I don't know.
Well, we're not going to be spreading out the whole amount.
No, what if
for
we just added
everybody.
$10 to it or something like that and make it 85? Because you have some entities on here that are not government entities and they're getting subsidized by the government. I mean, if every single one was entirely, city or township, you could make an argument, either way it's taxpayers, it's not as big of a deal, but when you do have some of it, there's at least two that I can see on here that I'm quite certain are not government entities. But,
You would still count the fire departments as a government.
well, yeah, no, exactly. But, there's a hospital on here that's, and I don't know about this other ambulance service, I'm thinking that they're not government ran, are they?
Ambulance, probably not.
You know,
I don't-
so-
Then on the other side of it, I guess, if it was to save one of my kids' lives or something, and then having that radio, whatever it would be.
Well, it's not gonna change the number of radios they have, Charlie, they're just gonna,
They just
instead
pay
of,
more,
instead of the hospital's radio being 50% subsidized by the government, it's only gonna be 40% subsidized by the government. If we raise the fee up to $85,
Yeah,
for
Mr.
example.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to alert them that the potential fee would go up by $10, but refer it to technology. So for budgeting purposes, so they have a heads up that it might increase to 10, but that number hadn't been agreed to yet.
That's a motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter,
I'll-
For a second.
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Burrell. Any discussion? Yeah, I think we just ought to raise it $10 and
It probably,
send them one letter telling them it's going up $10, and we can even tell them in our letter that Wright County still subsidizes over 60% of the costs, because that's basically what it is, It's gonna be $85,000 is that it's gonna be, and there's gonna be, we're gonna be subsidizing a much greater percentage than we did back in 11 when we got in 75 grand total and subsidized the other 90, so.
I'm okay either way, I guess, but as long as we have the motion here, so.
The idea is to send it, to alert them that it's potentially going to go up there.
That way there's no surprises.
There's
I
no
guess.
surprises because budget's coming up quick and they want to give a number.
But then even a large fire department might have, what, 10 of them?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
24, 35.
30.
St. Michael has 35.
30, $300.
Waverly has 24.
$300.
It's not gonna break the bank, I
No,
don't think.
it's,
look at the equipment in those fire halls and tell me $300 is gonna matter. And again, I mean, it's just a matter of equity here. I mean, if one city has, I don't know, see, in some cities, and this is another way of looking at, some cities, their public works uses this. Other cities, their public works don't. So in other cities where their public works is not using it, I'll take Monticello as an example. Monticello Public Works does not use it, but those people still have radios. So they're paying for their own radios, and we're subsidizing those public works that are using it. So you've got the people in Monticello paying for their own public works, and they're paying 60% of other communities' public works radios, and that's not fair. So it's, you know what I mean? If you look at it, it just isn't fair for the subsidy to maybe exist at all, and certainly shouldn't exist to a greater extent.
I agree with that, too.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, that might be a good reason to send it to technology to see if they can even out some of this inequity also.
Well, the only way you could do that is take the full amount and divide it, but
Well, it'd be interesting to go back and look at when we first did it too, what the discussion was then, and see what the, you know, the merits were of not doing it all and that sort of thing. I remember us kind of not necessarily doing all of it and what our rationale was for that, but I do know we talked about that number creeping up over time, and guess what? It hasn't. It hasn't crept up over time. It's stayed stagnant, and then we subsidize more and more, and it's.
and other counties don't do anything, and some other counties do.
Some counties paid for it all,
paid
some
for the whole
counties
thing.
paid for none, some counties did, we kind of had, we took like the middle approach when we did it. We, like I say, there was kind of, like I say, some, if I remember correctly, they did it to the T, and the number was a lot higher. It would have started out at like 161.70. Others, the county just paid the whole thing, and we kind of took a hybrid approach, and I think Sherburne might have been that way, or there was some counties that kind of subsidized
I think
a
Sherburne
certain amount of
doesn't-
it.
I don't think Sherburne charges anybody. Mr. Coordinator?
It's my recollection, I can't confirm Sherburne. I know there's quite a bit of variation across the state. I believe Sherburne does a lot more of the work in-house, but then bills the full cost,
Oh, they do?
is my understanding. I haven't spoken to them in several months on this now, but I do know throughout the state, there's quite a variation in cost.
If you go back to 10, you will see when we did kind of, we studied it then and we've seen what everybody else did. And like I say, I believe pretty strongly that we took a middle of the road approach on it then.
That way you don't have entities taking radios that they really don't need. You're,
Well, I mean, to some extent, you make things cheaper and people get more of what they ought to get.
yeah.
You screw up the economics of things, there's no doubt about that. We've seen that in the crime lab, you know. I guess, I don't know, like I said, I think we should charge the 10 and then still send it to committee for future, as far as for looking at it for the future, but.
Mike, I'm okay if you want to just withdraw the motion and do that.
Well, we
I'm
did-
okay either way.
My motion was to do the 10, but send it to technology committee anyway, so you can look at it.
Well, do you agree to do the 10? Will you amend it to just do the 10 and send it to technology? Okay, just do the 10 and send it to
Okay,
technology.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous. And I guess like I say, I think the thing that the technology committee has to realize that everybody's not using it equally in those things, and that's what kind of creates the imbalance if we just subsidize it more with the county.
Okay.
So Lee, I guess a letter needs to go out to the entities saying it's
Sure.
gonna go up to $85.
Yep, and we'll advise the departments too.
But go back to those minutes when this was first set up, and you'll find how different counties and stuff did it, if all that stuff was saved. I assume it is.
Sure, we have some records from that period. I'll bring those to the technology committee there and
For clarification, Mr. Chair, we're setting it at 85 and we're bringing it to technology to discuss further
For future years.
for years. Okay.
For future years. That, nothing will change what will happen for next year, right?
Okay.
We're just gonna go up to 85 for next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, as part of that letter, I'd like them to also state that what the total cost is to the county. That is $229,000, is that what you said, Adam?
Yes,
You know, just so that they're aware of what the total cost is to the county.
And that we're already subsidizing, you know, about 65% of it or something.
Just so that we're not, just so they realize that,
50% of it.
that we're not just raising it just to raise it, that our costs have gone up considerably.
Okay. And we did vote on that, right?
No.
yes.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Was unanimous.
Thanks, Adam. Schedule budget committee of the whole meeting,
Every once in a while.
the kickoff meeting. Lee, do you have a date in mind?
I was thinking next Tuesday, the 19th at 10:30. If we could do a quick meeting, I would like to, Bob and I would like to kind of go over some of the budget impacts we're know are going to be impacting the 2017 budget, and also talk a bit about the logistics of this year's budget and how
That
you'd
work
like
for
to see
people?
the
I'll make a
information.
motion to set July 19th at 10:30 budget kickoff meeting,
I'll second it.
Boardroom?
boardroom.
Motion by Potter, second by Delide. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
10:30.
Schedule feedlot meeting. What's that, the meeting where you're going to tell us what you came up with, Charlie, or?
Well, we've been putting this off a little bit because we've had some pretty active deals going on in planning and zoning, and Greg's been tied up with a lot of the legal things, so we've put it off. But I think we have a template right now that we can work on. I think when we had our first meeting, we have, what was it, about 10 people in the committee? And everybody had 10 different things, so we needed to get something out there so that we can work from, and I think we have that now, so.
We have something on paper to work with.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so.
So just to give you some ideas, staff, 18th and 19th on PM.
1 second.
18th and 19th of July,
Correct.
August,
Yeah,
July.
yeah. That'd be the earliest,
You only need 3 days' notice, right?
right?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the small feedlot committee here now?
Yes, yep, the chicken committee, or whatever we were calling it.
Okay.
And we've got that solar town hall meeting on the 18th at 1:30.
Yeah, we're tied up on the 18th at 1:30.
Well, this is
Chair, I'm
just
tied
as
up on the
committee,
19th
right?
library board.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys
Well, we might.
are invited to that. That's committee of the whole meeting.
No, but I'm talking about
Yeah.
the feedlot thing.
Right.
Chris
it's
is just
the
saying the
committee.
18th at 1:30 is not available for you guys.
Right,
The
yes,
twen-
they're not, they would not be there, it would just be you and me.
Yeah.
And the 19th evening, I have library board, so. if
That's
it's-
okay, because you're not on this one.
Okay, good.
How about the 21st?
Well, the
Well,
the
no,
19th
18th.
might work.
Greg's not.
Oh, Greg won't work, 18th or 19th, Greg? Okay, what's next, Sean?
Going on
21?
vacation again?
You said 21?
21.
Matilda's getting her nails done.
I couldn't do that one. Now, it's gonna be December, Sean,
Well, we don't want to go to December, do we?
okay, 21 didn't work for me.
Good.
So it's either schedule like the 19th or the 20th without Greg, or
Okay,
Walls needs to
Yeah,
be
I don't
there.
think it would be anything that would need intensive legal scholar there to advise on, would it?
well, it's going to be going.
Well, if we want a legal scholar, we could have Brian come.
Well,
So then we're back to the 19th PM, 20th AM.
well, the 20th, I can't do the 20th, but you said the 18th and 19th, right?
Who needs to be at,
18th, 19th PM.
who
Yeah.
needs to be at this meeting?
Those two.
just.
We could do 18th in the morning.
I can do the 18th in the afternoon, we have an
Morning.
Aurora thing at 10:30. I have.
Oh, I
to-
thought it was 1:30.
It's
1:30.
1:30,
On-
Chris said.
On the 18th?
Buffalo Township
I
Hall.
have that on my calendar.
I have it at 10.
1:30.
1:30 Buffalo Town.
You got an extra zero.
Got
in
an
there,
extra
Charlie.
0 in
All
there, then,
solar.
okay.
That's at the town hall?
So you want to do the
Do the-
18th at 10:30?
Sure.
No, PM.
Oh,
It's
morning's
got
not
for
good?
them.
PM. yeah.
And we already have 1:30. Let's do the 19th then.
19th PM work?
And you can do the PM on that one? 19th in the afternoon. Okay, 19th in the afternoon. Let's say
30?
1:30.
Okay.
Leave time for lunch. 1:30. Okay.
Okay, someone want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Was it 19th at 1:30?
19th at 1:30.
This is just for a committee,
where-
that's not
where-
of the
what-
whole, just the
what-
committee.
Assuming I can get that room.
What is that, 118?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1:18.
118, room 118 if we
I'll
can get
second
it.
it.
And there's a second, and that's for the feedlot committee. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Advisory committees and advisory board updates. Commissioner Burrell.
No, I was at Fair Board last night and everything is going really well, so we're gonna have one more meeting before the fair, which is early this year, starts on the 27th and goes through the 31st of July, so it's not very far off.
Now, have you agreed to the pie throwing contest yet?
Pie eating
Pie,
contest.
pie eating, I'm sorry.
Are you in the pie eating contest?
No, it's just he wants a pie.
They used to have it. Do they still have one?
I
They had a
don't know
pie
that.
eating contest for a while. I think Hagerty won it a couple years, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he? Do you
I
remember
seem to
that?
recall.
I think Hagerty might
Say
have.
that they might actually still have it, so maybe I shouldn't have spoken.
Well, I think if Hagerty's watching, I think the board should lay down the challenge that we think we got a man that can take him down.
But I don't want to get the pie in the face contest.
Mark?
I don't have anything at this time.
Let's see here. Mike, I'll let you talk about the owners committee.
Okay, we met last Thursday, owners committee was our final one. Basically the grand opening, administration is in there. Right now, they're still moving in, but they're conducting business in there. There was one of their staff meetings yesterday in there. Things going well. We're still under budget. We have, what was it? Was it 300 and some thousand in contingency money still left unspent? So we're doing well. They have yet to do training and on the lifts and that, so the maintenance department probably won't be out there for a couple months.
A couple of months.
Well, they have things to button up at their old shop, what they're doing, moving. The parts department, I know that was just about their sign department's working out there already. Some trucks are in the tempered storage area, but they were talking, Brian Jans and the mechanics were talking a couple months before they'd be out there. But that's not gonna affect everything else because they're just in the back room there.
I know, but that seems like a long time.
It does seem like a long time, but I didn't feel like pushing them. That was the thing to do with that. But
Is it because of the training?
the training is part of it. I think it's the stocking shelves and moving things over that have to be.
Probably just a
it
lot
just
to move.
Takes a lot to, when you've been embedded in a place in '74. I know that the admin area, they already filled up a dumpster worth of stuff that didn't have to move.
I stopped in there Friday, and it's nice.
And they're still figuring out the system, the zone air conditioning, because, now that they're closed, they got bodies in there, a little bit more humidity than they realized at first, so they gotta adjust the zones on those. They're still playing with that to figure out how to get that done, because parts of it were fine, but other parts had a little higher humidity than they'd like to have, but otherwise it looks good. They got the pavement down just before the storms came through. The flag is up, which is good, and it appears that it's just fine there.
And somebody's gonna keep an eye on these windows, so we don't have the same issue that we did at the old highway building.
Hopefully.
Yeah, there are 3 or 4 outstanding issues yet that I suppose we'll hear about in a minutes, but just so people let you hear them now, so you don't have to wait 3-4 weeks. And somewhat significant, kind of to some extent. Some more easily fixed than others, but the roof. The roof is on, but there's some areas, particularly in that lower roof on the,
Administration part?
which would that have been the administration part, or would that, I was up there
That'd
and
be the
looked and it was-
tempered storage
Is
area.
that the tempered storage? The tempered storage area, the tempered storage is lower than the other shop area when we were over there, and there's a lot of wrinkles in that roof, and that roof is supposed to be adhered right down to the surface.
Correct.
And if it was perfectly adhered to, it would
Be
be
flat.
smooth and flat, and there's a lot of wrinkles in there, and there's concerns about how those wrinkles work with the integrity of the roof over a period of years and years and years. And one would think some wrinkles that maybe move and that sort of thing are not as good as adhered flat that isn't going to move. So that is a problem. And we're unsure what will need to be done there, and potentially there may be some large amounts of that roof that end up getting removed and replaced
That was part of the
at the
discussion.
expense of the roofer.
The owner of Central Roofing did come out and acknowledge that that's not correct.
So I don't.
I don't like the idea of having patches already in.
No, it's
Well, they're
sections, it's not patches.
We don't want any more seams, but the roof is about, what, 12 foot wide, would you say those rubber membranes are that
I
go
didn't
across
go
there,
look at
Lee? What would
those
you say,
ones.
10, 12 feet?
I think Alan mentioned it was 10 feet wide by 100-foot rolls.
So, I mean, they'd have to do it at the seams of the 10 feet. It would be
Okay.
at the seams. I mean, that's the only way it could be done. And if you look at the number of ripples are on there, that's the only way you'd accomplish anything anyhow without literally having thousands of patches. There was even, I mean, a discussion of possibly that the temporary storage facility may be entirely being removed in its entirety because of the number of ripples that are in it and being entirely replaced. So, so that's a significant issue that we are going to hear more about.
And then on the high roof, those are all fine?
Well, the higher roof, there were some, but not nearly as many. So I guess we'll wait and hear back, but I can tell you, before this thing is said and done, there's probably gonna be a roofer that's gonna lose some serious money on this job.
Do we have enough retainage to more than cover the cost, if we have to take contest and get somebody else?
Yeah, I don't know if that's accurate, or did they say that, or?
Because they said you got the 5% plus, they haven't gotten paid from the other one, so we have quite a bit of retainage from them.
We'd need quite a bit because, of course, I don't know how much the buildup of the roof is and all that, and if all that'll be fine and they can just pull off the rubber and go right over that, I don't know, but, so that's one issue. The troughs and the tempered storage, where the water drains down into, for some reason, those troughs in some areas are wider than they should be, just a little bit, and where the tray sits down inside of them, there is very little lip on the trough, and in some areas, the trough for some reason was wider than it should have been, and because there's such little overlap of the tray that sits down in there, there was at least one spot where I think something drove across it and the tray went down.
Yeah.
And then in further looking and evaluating, our folks from Kraus Anderson are concerned that there's other areas where there could be some problems as well, based upon after they've looked at it with the small amount of overlap, and this product is made out of, like, I think it's like a fiberglass or something like that.
PVC, it's a PVC
and
trough.
And those trays, if they're not out as totally as wide as they should be, they kind of crack a little bit, or, kind of wedge away at that PVC, and that could be a bigger problem in the future. So the big bosses from out east somewhere are coming out to look at it with their own eyes and see exactly what went wrong here and why that happened. And there'll probably have to be some sort of something attached inside of those troughs to give, or on the tray, or the
Grates.
inside of not the grate
Into the
itself,
trough.
in the
Yeah.
trough, there'll have to be something attached to make sure those grates can't come down.
Can't come down.
Something applied on the inside of them or something like that. And then the third thing was, there was a little bit of, with the concrete poured at the thresholds of the overhead doors, instead of being at the highest point right where the door comes down, it's actually maybe about 10 inches to the outside. It kind of slopes back towards the door a bit, so you could have some water kind of sloping back that you wouldn't want, so they gotta figure out how they're gonna handle that. So them are the three that I
Yeah,
can
'cause
remember, and it's,
The overhead doors, it was supposed to be, the pour was supposed to be flat for 6 inches and then tilt towards the drain on the inside, but for some reason the thing tilts right from the seam all the way in.
so you'd have some, if you had melting and then water would kind of build up against the door, maybe a half inch to 3/4 of an inch, and then it would freeze potentially in the winter, is when I would see the winter, I would think would be the worst problem. So I don't, I kind of looked at that, and they talked about maybe some grinding of concrete may have to take place, and of course you'll have, an exposed ground concrete look there, but at least you won't have this deal where you've got water settling back against the building, and when you've got, the way it is now too, whenever you'd have a hard rain, I would think you'd be more likely to have water kind of, draining into your building as opposed to away like it's out to, so. So those are three things that need to be resolved, that are, quite frankly, there's not a real simple solution to any one of them, but I, after having looked at them all, I mean, there's solutions to them all. But it's gonna cost somebody some money, and I don't believe it's gonna be the county, because the county's not.
It won't be.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, there's no suggestion that anybody thinks it would be the county. I think that the contractors have taken ownership of these problems, so that's the good news.
Good.
And we had a solar committee on Friday, and we knocked down 2 or 3 issues there, Charlie, relative to some
Three.
things as far as some general consensus there. So I think we're making pretty good progress there. Anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Chris?
Well, we had a good township officers meeting at Silver Creek with the dinner, and a lot of good sharing of information, and so I was there. And I was at the Safe Communities of Wright County meeting on Friday, and we got some Minnesota traffic crashes data. And basically, in 2015, there was 72,772 traffic crashes reported to Minnesota Department of Public Safety. It was 138,057 motor vehicles and 181,663 people involved in those crashes. 411 people died and 29,981 people were injured. The estimated economic cost to Minnesota was $1,773,219,300, so pretty significant. It was a 14% increase over 2014, but in Wright County, it was actually, our traffic crashes went down, and we had, our fatalities went down. In 2014, we had 16 fatalities, and 2015, we had 8. And there's been 5 so far this year. So in other words, an average day in 2015, there's 205 crashes, 1 death and 82 injuries, and about $4,858,000 per day that it costs. The known alcohol-related crash statistics, 3,634 crashes, 137 deaths, and over 2,000 injuries. So that estimated cost to Minnesota was over about $285 million. So anyway, the seatbelt use, though, is 94% in Minnesota, which is pretty good. And also, actually the fatality rate in Minnesota for 100 million vehicle miles traveled remains low compared to the rest of the country, and it's improved dramatically over the last 2 decades. So is 0.70 per vehicle miles traveled. So anyway, so that's one positive thing, I guess, that we're, even though it's still a lot of crashes, a lot of fatalities, but we're still one of the lowest in the nation.
Second round, Charlie?
I wanted to say, County Road 35 out at Wolf Swamp was supposed to be completed today, but because of some weather delays, Virgil said it will not be until next week. I kind of put it out to some of my constituents, it would be done today, but
Okay.
because of the weather, it's going to be next week.
Another promise not kept by a politician.
Charlie.
That wasn't me.
Well, you said you put it out to him that it would be done today.
Virgil, I'm just passing what Virgil said.
And Ed, I don't know if it was your article or some, I seen that there was an article in the Drummer, the Journal Press.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, the
Really nice,
geothermal,
well-written.
really nice article, Ed.
Yeah, nice pictures and stuff
Yeah,
too
good
showing.
pictures and.
Yeah,
That's it.
explained it
Was
really
neat.
well,
Yeah.
because without the pictures, I think it would be really hard for people to comprehend that.
Yeah.
Well, the
But there's-
comprehension is how thick the asphalt was in that one area.
Oh, yeah.
22 inches. That's
But they're
No
still
wonder it
picking up.
sunk all that weight from the
They're still
asphalt.
picking up the styrofoam pieces after that last storm. They're like 2 miles away. No, I'm joking.
And since we're going second round here, I think we had talked about out at Bertram, the YMCA's open house here, I mentioned a couple weeks ago that it was going to happen, and I think they said, in an hour and a half, they gave out they had 500 wristbands to pass out that day, in an hour and a half, they were gone, so.
Wow.
Yeah, in fact, I talked to one of the employees, and they were very happy. They said, she said they had over 600, I think she said 630. I talked to her at church on Sunday. She said 630 people went to the open house.
Yeah, and that would, my guess is, because we went later and they weren't putting wristbands on then, and you could very easily have went and signed up and just got there and went around, and so I have to believe they missed a number of people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But early on, when they had wristbands, they were probably getting them all because people knew they needed to get that wristband, but once they were gone, they were probably missing folks, but.
But yeah, she said 600, I think it was 630 she had said. So they were very happy.
Yeah.
So, and it's a really neat concept out there too.
Anything else?
County Road 12 is open.
Yep.
I drove it yesterday. It's open.
So did I.
And if you got leaves, or if you got brush and tree material, they're taking it on 37. When I went by there
At the
last
compost
week on
facility.
like Wednesday, I drove by, I think it was Wednesday when or no, it must have been Thursday when I was going to the highway meeting.
The website's,
There was probably a half dozen cars parked in there unloading their
Okay.
tree limb
Brush.
as I drove by, and, you know, another one or two going in and one or two going out, so it was just getting some real heavy use, last week, I know, and I imagine there's still people that got some stuff to take out there,
And the
so,
tub grinder was supposed to be in yesterday afternoon to start
yeah,
chipping everything up.
yeah. There being no further business, we are adjourned at 9:46 a.m.